All right, today is November 13th, 2025, and this is my review. Um, Pretty late review today, and it's going to be a long one because we've got 28 executions, which is by far the most I've had in a long, long time. Um, Whether or not having that many executions today is I can say with confidence it's a bad thing. I should not be having 28 executions. However, that being said, I think um, there are sessions and there are environments where having this many executions is not only necessary, but it gives you the appropriate reps. It's not so much that I need 28 reps to be profitable, it's that I have 28 executions that um, are each one is giving me experience. Um, Now there definitely exists an environment where that is not true, and that 28 executions is nothing but a bad thing. Um, but I don't think today was that kind of day. I think today, um, as we'll see in the review, these were, um, for the most part, good trades, and they were there. There was no tilt today. There certainly was emotions. There's gonna be emotions with with almost every session, but there was no tilt trading. There was no fast, wild, and loose trading. It was all systematic, as far as I know. We might come into the review and find that wasn't the case. But let's hope it wasn't, because I do, as of right now, as of just finishing trading this session, I do feel good about it. Um, so you can see here we're break even on the day. After commissions, though, I'm going to be down substantially, nowhere near as bad as last session. November 11th was a very bad session. Um, so as much as I would have liked to make a dent in recovering those losses from Tuesday, um, I'm also glad that wasn't my focus today. I don't think at any point in this session I was worried about PNL, and I wasn't trying to make it all back, and I wasn't trying to fix my losses from earlier in the week. I was just focused on the system, and there were so many opportunities today. Today was a great trading day. There was opportunities everywhere, and um, for better or for worse, when there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of executions. And um, I think one thing that we're going to find today is that there were a lot of preventable losses. And had I not taken those big losses, I think I would have been up on the day, at least a lot more than where I am currently. So moving forward, that's going to be my goal, is just to get rid of those preventable losses, those avoidable losses. But in order to do that, I need to review. So let's get into it. 28 executions. I had 15 wins and 13 losses. Um, I think I technically count break evens as losses, and there was at least one break even today. My average winning trade was 5.7 ticks, and my average losing trade was 6.5 ticks. So negative expectancy on risk reward, and I think that's because I had a couple outliers. Um, I took a 19 tick loss at one point, immediately followed by a 15 tick profit. But you can see the loss was significantly bigger than the profit. My win rate was 53.6%. Um, so barely above 50% win rate. I would like to get that win rate up a little higher. But it is what it is. Some days we've already established that this system varies a lot in risk reward and win rate. So just collecting the average uh, after a big enough sample size, which I've only been trading this system reliably for the last 2 weeks. That is not a big sample size. I think after a couple months, I'll be able to deduct what my average is. Let's jump into some trades. Um, First of all, I've got the VWAP tags here. We didn't have great confluence today, so it was a risk off kind of day. We were above the VWAP on the monthly, below it on the weekly, and then most of the day we were below it on the daily. So let's jump into it. Start with trade number 1 here. Let's listen to the narration. I'm going to move up into opening range. I'm going to take the short at 44.50. Bit of an uptrend developing there. I took it off for a 3-tick loss. That'd have been a little premature, but that's okay. And look, so I took it off for a 3-tick loss because it came back on me. In hindsight, if I gave that a very loose leash, it could have been a profitable trade. But we're talking that would have came back on me 7 or 8 ticks for just a couple ticks of profit. So I think it was a good cut. So this is trade number 1. It was a 3-tick loss to the short side right off the open. Pretty calm. I'm going to put maybe just because my heart rate is slightly elevated and we're pretty close off the open. I did feel very content with P&L, although the potential for discontent was very high because coming off of a very bad session previous to this. That being said, though, I am very proud of my contentment today. I didn't think about P&L virtually at all. And then patience will be maybe just because we're only 2 minutes off the open right now. I should be practicing a little bit more patience than that. I did have one good pulse check, and I was pretty clear on what was going on here. It was like an opening range retest, which worked. It's just it was my entry was a little early, so let's tag that. Entry early, exit good. I'm glad I got out of this for 3 ticks. This was an ATR candle fade with momentum. I will call that momentum because we were downtrending through the open. I'm gonna call this a C set. I'll call it a B setup. Definitely worth the attempt. We did have an area of interest. We were, I believe, below the 50 MA. No, we were technically above it. So above. Factors of support. I had some small order blocks and an invalidation. Small order blocks, invalidation, trend favor. And I think that's about it. This was, I'm going to call it aggressive just because it was so close off the open and it's a little volatile right now. So I am technically against my bias, but I did have slip favor on it. I will green star this one. I think it was a decent attempt. But just, well, actually, I better yellow star it just because I could, the execution, if the execution was better and I waited just a little bit longer, I could have been a winning trade. Trade number 2 is a 5-tick profit to the short side. Downtrend to short here. I'm going to try a short at 45 even. Take it off at 43.75 for a 5-tick win. So that was a very fast trade, 2-second hold time. This was an ATR candle continuation with momentum. I'll call it a C setup. We were technically above the 50 moving average. Entry good, exit good. I did have some small order blocks, and I'm still going to tag invalidation. We did have a pretty good invalidation there. Trend favor. This was a conservative scalp, risk off. Do we still have the area of interest? Yeah, we kind of do. We traded almost exactly on that opening range low. No mistakes, slip favor, clear, calm. Yes, calm, content, and maybe patient, because again, we are still pretty close off the open. That'll be a green star. Trade number 3 is a 5-tick loss to the long side. So I don't like that. Right off the bat, I don't like that this was against the trend that I had established mentally. I can see that it was a decent attempt. Like, I see what I was trading, but I don't think I should have been long here. Try the long at 45.50. It's accepting against me. I took it off there for, I think, a 5 or 6 tick loss. And if I fast forward, it keeps going down. So we are clearly in a short trend. I'm going to tag this range against. Range against. It's pretty aggressive, so I'm against my bias. I didn't really have slip favor on it either. I'm gonna say confused because I'm clear about a downtrend. I am not clear about an uptrend. So I'm gonna put confused, maybe calm, yes, content, and maybe patient. Factors of support, I didn't really have any. I'm actually gonna take no factors of support. It was technically ATR continuation, but there's no momentum. So this is gonna be a D setup. And it was above the 50 moving average. This will be a red star. I do not like that I traded here. Yeah, that's it. I wish, because all the following trades that are coming are short, I wish I had maintained that. I wish all of my trades in the morning were short, but that one was long, which was an unnecessary loss. Trade number 4 is an 8 tick loss to the short side. Very established downtrend here. There's the fill, 32.50. It's pulling back on me quite a bit here. And it's accepting, so I'm going to pull that off for a loss. So pulling that off for a loss was a good call because it is accepting above my area. And the reclaim potential is huge. There's a massive upside reclaim behind me. In hindsight, though, if you play the video, it goes on to work. So if I had just held a little longer with a little wider of a leash, it would have worked. But it's not an amazing setup. It's not a great setup for me to be doing that. So we still have VWAP tags, correct? Yeah, we're below -1 here. Maybe calm. I'm gonna say maybe content and maybe patient because I think after taking those that 5 tick loss before, it was affecting my contentment a little bit. My market read was good. I had a good read on it, but my execution was bad. Slip. I did not have slip favor, slip none. This was a conservative trade, but my entry was late and my exit was early. This was an ATR candle continuation with strong trend favor. That's about it. I don't see much else on here. I'll put compression because it is arguably compressing into the downside, but that's about it. So I'm gonna call this a C grade setup. It's not very good. And at entry we were just barely below the 50 moving average. I will yellow star this trade. Trade number 5 is a 1 tick profit to the short side. Continuation at 28.50. We got the fill, 28.50 short. And it's accepting back on me a little bit here. Took it off for 1 tick profit. It's just making higher lows here. So I take it off for 1 tick, but then pretty shortly after that, it goes all the way in my favor. So I'm going to tag this as fear. If I had just held it a little longer, it would have went. My exit was early, but my entry was pretty solid. ATR candle continuation. We did have really good momentum here. That trend is pretty solid. I might even call this a B grade setup. We're below the 50 moving average. Factors of support, we had trend favor. That's kind of all you need. I don't see a whole lot else. So maybe I will call this a C setup just because I don't have a lot of factors of support. This was a conservative scalp. I did have slip favor on it. I was clear. I was calm. I was content. And I'm going to say yes, patience. I am being pretty patient now. We're 10 minutes after the open. There's quite a big distance between trades. It's gonna have to be a yellow star because I exited way too early. If I had just held it, it would have been an awesome trade. Trade number 6 is a 19 tick loss to the short side. Just a little bit. This, in my opinion, was a very avoidable loss. It's not that it was a bad trade. According to my system, this was a valid trade. We had an ATR candle down. We had a solid downtrend. The nuance, though, which nuance is important. Nuance is more important than anything. Is that when we make this fresh low, it's on very high delta, selling delta. So a huge amount of sellers come in here on this candle. And I tried to short it for a continuation. The problem with doing that is when you're at low of day and you get a whole bunch of sellers, you see it all the time. It's those late sellers, and those late sellers get squeezed. Same thing with the upside. If we put in a new high of day on an exceptional amount of buying, like huge buyers step in there, they're late. Those are late buyers, and the market loves late buyers and late sellers because it's easy liquidity. So you can see here on that fresh move down, we just had so many sellers come in, and then they immediately get bought back up, and I'm short, and I get squeezed. I'm the late seller in this instance, so I get squeezed. It comes back on me. 19 ticks, which is like almost 5 points. It is 5 points. And then I take the trade off. But what's happened here is, and unfortunately, I got filled short. You see me take it off there. What has happened, and what is good news, is that big short squeeze that just happened is valid in the opposite direction. A huge amount of buyers just came in, and they're in a downtrend. They're about to get steamrolled. They're about to get just toppled over. And I see that, and I take note of that. So in an ideal world, and I want my trading to be ideal as possible, I would have avoided shorting that first opportunity because there's too much sellers there and they're going to get squeezed. So I want to imagine that I didn't take that, and instead I waited for this fresh opportunity to appear where there's a huge amount of buyers that just stepped in and they're catching a knife. They're catching a knife in a downtrend. And this would have been a great, and it is a great trade. My second short here is an amazing trade, and it might be the best trade of the day. Let's see. I'm going to try the short for the ATR candle fade, 29.25 short. I feel very good about this trade, seeing as we're trending below the bottom VWAP very consistently. So I'm going to see. So a couple things about this trade. We're below the VWAP -1 band, which means we are in a very strong downtrend. We also just, when we printed that big candle that I'm now short on, the preceding candles, the preceding like 30 seconds of price action is rolling over. It's toppling down. So we're getting consistent lower highs and lower lows on the micro price action, which is good. That means we're trending lower on the micro. See if I can get the full reclaim on this down to 24s. So I call 24s there, but I take it off early at 25s. And in hindsight, I could have not only could I got 24s, but I could have got even more out of it. It continues all the way down to 21s. So I'll call that an early exit just because it was worth more than that. So exit early, entry good. Oh, I'm tagging that. I need to do the first trade. The 19 tick loss. So 19 tick loss was entry early. It was impulsive. I was way too quick on it, and it's missing context. It was pretty aggressive because we're at low of day in a risk-off environment, which means I'm against my bias. There's not really any slip here. It was a moment ATR candle continuation with momentum. I'm going to call it a C setup. And we were below moving average. Yeah, that looks good. I did have trend favor, but that's about it. I felt clear on it. But I was not calm well, let me back up to the actual trade itself. Let's see. Yeah, even when I took the trade, I was not calm. Maybe content and maybe patient. My trades are getting a pretty tight grouping here. I do need to tag the VWAPs, which are okay. So the 19 tick loss is going to be a oh man. I shouldn't have taken it. It was an unnecessary loss. I should not have taken it. So it'll be a red star. And in the journal notes, I'm going to put a delta on fresh lows equals squeeze. Just so I have a little bit more context. And then let's trade the 15 tick, trade number 7, 15 tick profit to the short side immediately after. We had big order blocks, small order blocks. We had a pretty decent invalidation there. We invalidated a lot of the sellers. I think we had strong tape. Let me fast forward a little bit. Yeah, I got filled. Yeah, I'm going to say strong tape. The tape was pretty strong there. We had reclaim, and we had trend favor. That will be multiple factors of support. I'm going to call this an A+ setup. This was by far the best setup of the day. ATR candle fade with momentum. When I entered, we were slightly above the 50 moving average. Entry good, but exit early. I wish I held this a little longer. And this was conservative. It feels aggressive to be catching a move like that. And there's a move to move because I did have a clear target. I'll even go as far as call the hold. I don't have hold trades very often, but this was a hold because, yeah, at least it should have been a hold. I should have held this for as much as I could get out of it. Mistakes. I don't think I had any mistakes here. I did have slip favor. Clear. I'm going to put maybe calm because that big spike beforehand threw me off quite a bit. Maybe content because a 19 tick loss is pretty big. I don't think I was completely content with that. And maybe patient because jumping in immediately after objectively is not patient, but in this certain context, in this specific context, it was very warranted. And this will be a green star. I know the execution wasn't perfect, but I do want to green star it because I just want to highlight that I did at least get the trade and like got a significant win out of it. I think wishing that I held it longer is kind of being a perfectionist, but as traders, we kind of have to be perfectionists. So 29.25 was my entry. I want to screenshot this for sure. And this will be my easiest trade. I think this trade was incredibly easy. It just immediately went in my favor. My entry was about here. It's like 29.25 or something like that. And then my exit was 25.50, I'm pretty sure. My ideal exit would have been the very bottom of the ATR candle, which would have been 24 even. So I could have got about 6 more ticks out of this. All right, so I just wanted a quick screenshot of that because I think this is a very good trade. We have a steady and strong downtrend. We're below the -1 VWAP at this point. Any buyers down here are going to be catching a knife, especially if they come in with large volume, which is exactly what happened there. So we had a big buy order come in, which created a large spike up, but it immediately failed. Sometimes these moves will look like they're continuing and they'll keep going higher a little bit and then they'll fail, or they might not fail and they'll just keep going up. But in this case, it immediately started to fail, which is a good sign. That isn't an entry signal for me, but it is confirmation for me to hold. So I'm going to be aggressive on a trade like this with my entry. And if it starts trending against me, that's going to be telling me I have to make a decision here. I might have to get out. But if I get in it aggressively and it starts trending in my favor, I mean, I don't have anything to lose by holding it. I'm going to keep holding it. And in this particular instance, I should have held it longer. I should have held it to 24 evens, which I'm not too upset about, but I do want to emphasize that for review purposes. If its setup is this good, hold it for everything it's worth. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So let's keep going here. Trade number 8 is a 7-tick loss to the short side. If I'm looking for pullbacks, I'm going to want around 21s. I'm going to try the short at 2025. Build short. It is coming back on me a bit, so I took it off for a loss. Let's see if that was a good idea or not. See, so that's kind of a perfect example of what I was talking about before, is it puts in a fairly sharp move for me to fade into, but then it starts trending against me, and I have to make the decision to cut. Now, I do think it ended up working. It would have taken a while. It would have taken a couple minutes for it to work, but it did eventually end up working. Not for much though, only for like a point. I don't think it ever went to target, and in fact, I go on to take another loss on it, which you'll see shortly here. So, trade number 8, 7-tick loss, short side. Factors of support, we did have some order blocks. We did have the trend favor. And we did have an invalidation. Actually, no, that's after I take the exit on it. This is an ATR candle fade with momentum. I'm going to call it a C setup because I don't have a lot of factors of support. We're above the 50 moving average when I take the entry. Entry early, I think there weren't nearly as many factors of support on this one as there was on the last one. The last one, when there's a lot of factors of support, I can afford to be aggressive with my entry. But on this one, I just don't think it's not a big enough pullback, and there's not enough factors of support to justify it. Exit late. This was an aggressive scalp in a risk off environment. I should put aggressive on the last one too, actually. If I'm looking against bias, did I have slip favor on this? I don't think I did. For pullback. So I'm going to say slip none because I'm just jumping into it. My market read is clear. My calmness is good. My contentment is good. And my patience is good. I'm going to yellow star this one because, again, I'm just a little too quick, a little too impulsive. I'm actually going to tag this as impulsive. Trade number 9 is a 12-tick loss to the short side. And this is a try to of the last one, so I'm going to copy the tags from the last trade and paste them in there. This will be a try to, and it'll also be a yellow star. It's not a red star because I'm looking at the setup and it looks pretty decent. It just came back on me, and trades do that. This system is gonna fail a lot. It's not every trade is gonna be a winner. So I am content with keeping that the way it is, although I will change calmness to maybe because my heart rate is going up a little bit. Trade number 10 is a 4-tick loss to the short side. Let's watch the narration. Looking to reposition for a try 2 on it. I'm going to try 23 short, but this is my last attempt. Could be entering mean reversion territory here. Some pretty good acceptance. I could see this going to 18s. We just defended those lows, so I do not want to see us accept up here for new highs. Yeah, it's pulling back on me a little bit more than I would like to. I took it off at 24, so for a 4-tick loss. It's a lucky exit because I think it trends higher. No, it does come back down eventually, but that was a lucky exit getting that 4-tick loss. So I say there that that's a try two of the last setup, and I think in the moment I was a little confused. I knew there was a try two here somewhere, and it's tempting for me to call this a try three, but I'm not trading the same setup. But I am trading for the same direction. I'm trading for the same outcome. They're technically 3 different setups, because we get 3 different ATR candles. But if by that logic, I could just sit there and slam the offer every time there's an ATR candle and get murdered on it every time. And I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag this as a try 3, but I don't want that to have any negative connotation. I don't think I broke my rule, my goal of only trying an idea twice, because there's 3 separate setups. They're just hoping for the same outcome, which is technically the same. But they had vastly different expected values. Like the first one was just for a tiny little scalp. The second one, there was a much larger setup. I was hoping for 2 or 3 points, but never got it. And then the third one, again, was just a tiny little scalp. The EV changes over time. But because of the context of the location, and I'm looking for a new break of low of day, I'm going to call this a try 3. But that being said, I still didn't fall in love with an idea. I don't think I over traded here necessarily, because I'm trading 3 different setups. So try not to read into that too much. That's just how my brain works in these situations. I'm going to say maybe calm, maybe content, and maybe patient, because these are very tight trades here. This will be a yellow star, and I'm going to paste the tags in from the last trade. There are bigger order blocks here, though, for me to fade into, so I will tag that as such. And I think that's it. So, trade 11 is a 12-tick profit to the short side. And again, this is a same location but different setup. So this is an ATR continuation. It is not an ATR fade. But I still would like to see the break of the low of day. It looks like that's what I'm going for here. But I take the more conservative target because I need to bankroll. I do hold this one for quite a while, but the nice thing is it's slowly grinding in my favor. It's making lower highs. And it looks like I nailed the exit too. I got 12 ticks out of it, and that's pretty much all it was going to give me. So, paste a lot of those tags in here, but this is going to be an ATR candle continuation with momentum. I'm going to call this a B setup. I like this one a lot better. Entry good, exit good. I'm even going to call this a move to move trade because I had a clear target in mind. I had big order blocks. I had small order blocks. I had a couple different micro reclaims, but I don't want to tag those. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. This is a more conservative scalp for sure. I'm gonna tag price action too tight because we're still hugging the moving average here. Slip, I did have slip favor. It shimmied back and filled me. I'm gonna say clarity in between because I was wrong 3 times before I was right. Maybe calm. Um, maybe content and maybe patient. However, this will be a green star. So, lesson here is that I think those 3 prior attempts were unnecessary. They were different setups, but they were in the same direction. I'm hoping for a break of lows, and it took me 3 tries to finally get it. Again, different setups, so not necessarily trying the same idea multiple times, which has gotten me into trouble in the past, but just hoping for the same outcome, which arguably can lead to that same kind of mistake, which is something I got to look out for. But in this case, I at least managed to get a solid 3-point move out of it. Trade number 12 is a 5-tick profit to the long side. So it looks like we are starting to show signs of reversal. Let's listen to the narration here. We got 2 ATR candles to the downside. We got range favor. I'm going to try the long at 29.75. A little bit of volatility down here at the range lows, but that can honestly work for me. And I'll take it off at 31. Got the fill at 31 with a very early exit. Yeah, so 5 ticks was super, super conservative. And I think it was way more conservative than what I should have been because all of my trades so far have been to the short side, and now I'm going long, which is a good thing. We're above the -1 VWAP. We're starting to trend up. We're making higher lows and higher highs. We've got like a good V bottom there on the daily chart. This is a good opportunity for a mean reversion trade, and mean reversion trades are going to have a much lower win rate, but a much higher risk reward. Like you can if you catch a mean reversion trade, you can really juice it. And that's what I should have done here. I should have juiced this a little bit more. I could have gotten like 3 or even 4 points out of it had I held to the other end of the range. So, lesson to take away here is to just be a little wider with targets on mean reversion trades. So let's tag that as such. I'm going to say maybe calm. I'm going to say yes content and yes patient. I did wait almost 15 minutes since my last trade because we're in that gray zone of a mean reversion, but now it's pretty clearly a mean reversion. This was a conservative scalp. I had trend favor and range favor. Both can be true. We were in a micro range and we were in an uptrend. This was an ATR candle fade, mean reversion. I'm going to call this an A setup. It's almost A plus. We had big reclaims. We had pretty good order blocks. Did we have large ones? We have large ones, but they're old. I don't want to tag those if they're old. We have reclaim. I'm going to tag V flush, but it's mostly V bottom. We have a V bottom that we're trading here. And stop run. There's good stop run potential. So this is multiple factors of support. We are above, or we're actually below the moving average on this one. Good pullback. Entry good, exit early. I'm going to tag fear because it really, really should have been a much better trade than that. Slip favor. And I was clear on this trade. This will be a yellow star because I really, really wish I held it longer. Yeah. I think that's it. I am gonna want to screenshot this real quick. I don't have a lot of time to be screenshotting these, but for the sake of remembering the setup, my entry, my exit, ideal exit should have been the top of this range. V bottom is what I'll call that. And then reclaim. So yeah, reclaim assisted mean reversion here. Pretty good stuff. All right, let's paste that in there. Upload it. Beautiful. Trade number 13 is a break even to the long side. The breach of range highs. I like the buying volume here. We've got an ATR candle to the upside. I'm going too long on it. So this looks like a breakout trade, but it comes back against me a little too much. And it's getting pretty volatile. So I take it off for one tick loss because we're getting a little too volatile heading into 10 o'clock. Fast forward a bit. And yeah, that was a good cut because it does come all the way back to the other end of the range. So if I'm taking a breakout trade and it is not immediately going in my favor, it's probably a fake breakout. So good idea to get out of it. Calmness is decent. I'm going to say yes, content, and maybe patient. This was pretty close to my last trade. Slip against. I was really trying to push this one to get out of this range. Entry might be a little early. I think I might have been just a little too impulsive with this one. But my exit was good. This was a breakout ATR continuation. I'm gonna call it an A setup actually because it's a reclaim assisted breakout, which is pretty good. Those tend to be very good setups, but the win rate's low. So the fact that I got out of it for a break even is pretty impressive. We had reclaim favor, big and small order blocks. I'm going to tag trend favor, but range against. And strong tape. This tape was very strong when I entered. I'll call that multiple factors of support. what are my VWAP tags? This will be a green star. Good attempt. Good setup. Good attempt. Trade 14 is a 7-tick profit to the short side. There's an ATR candle. I'm going to short it 26.25. And I'll take it off at 24.50. Very smooth trade there. Incredibly smooth. Good double top on the 3-second chart. Nice little slip range setting up. We've broken out of the range to the downside, so now we are trending downward, which is nice. So, picture perfect ATR continuation. Or sorry, ATR fade. Momentum, I'm going to call that a B setup. It's pretty good. Below the 50 MA. Maybe calm, yes content, and yes patient. I was clear. Entry good, exit good. I don't think it was worth much more than I got out of it because I captured pretty much the entire slip range. Conservative scalp. Slip favor. Extra support. I did have some small order blocks in my favor. It definitely had trend favor. And I'll call this a stop run because we are stopping all of these early longs. So we made a bottom, longs got in, and now we're stopping them out. So I'll take that with a stop run tag. This will be a green star. Trade 15 is a 1-tick profit to the short side. A little bit of a slip range here. I'm going to try the short again, 25.75. I'm going to take it off for a 1-tick profit, getting a little too tight. So that was a bad call. I definitely could have held this longer. It is virtually the exact same trade as last time, so I'm going to paste the tags in. I'm just going to put exit early, and I'm also going to slap a fear tag on this because I jumped out way too early. But all the all the other tags are the exact same. This will be a yellow star. Trade 16 is a 3-tick profit to the short side. Again, I think it's in the same slip range. Let's watch. We've got another ATR candle to the upside, and it's breaching the top side of the slip range, which changes the setup slightly. I'm going to take it off for 3-tick profit because, again, we're just getting a little too volatile. And we have news at 10:05, mortgage delinquencies, which I don't think is a huge deal. So I do make a pretty good point there that we're coming up into news, and I don't want to be holding anything into news. However, I do think under normal circumstances, I could have held this trade a lot longer. I could have got probably 2 points out of it. But given the fact that I've already traded this slip range twice already, I don't want to be too aggressive. I don't want to hold something for the world if I'm already up, 5-6 ticks in this slip range. That being said, though, it is a very good setup. I would even say it's better than the last 2 trades. So I will paste the tags in from the last trade. Entry good, exit good. I'll maybe make that an exit early, but not as early as the last ones. We got a top tick on this one this time, so that'll be multiple factors of support. We'll call this an A setup instead of a B. But everything else is virtually the same. Slightly elevated heart rate, though. My heart rate was higher than all the other trades today, which I think is testament to trading the same area multiple times. Like, I know I'm being aggressive. That being said, though, this will be a green star. I'm glad I didn't hold it for longer because I should be very tight in this area. It's just kind of hindsight that I could have gotten more out of the trade. Trade 17 is a 3-tick profit to the short side. ATR candle up. I'm going to short 24.75. I'll take it off at 23.75 for the point. I had to chase there for a little bit, so I think I got 3 ticks profit instead of the point. But I will take that all day. So I think it was a good idea to just get out for 3 ticks instead of holding for the point. Because as we fast forward, you do see this coming back against me. And that's kind of the tricky part about this system is you do really have to be discretionary with exits. and that means you're going to cut early a lot with this system. Because if you don't, it's going to come back on you a lot of times. I think this system fails more often than it wins. But if you combine it with other context, you can increase the win rate substantially. But if I'm 100% systematic with these and I'm always holding for the profit target, then I think it would be a negative expected value system. So I'll call that a good exit. Entry good, exit good. ATR fade, momentum. I'll call this a C setup. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. I'm going to say below 50 MA because we are trending below it. This was a pretty conservative scalp. Risk off. Slip favor. Clear. Maybe calm. Yes content and yes patient. Factors of support. I had small order blocks in trend favor. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's good. This will be a green star. Trade 18 is a 1-tick profit to the short side. And this is looking like a pivot. We got an ATR candle up. I'm going to try the short at 40.5 for the mean reversion. Obviously, the risk profile is different on these setups. I'm going to take it off here. That was weird. I tried to get the fill for 3 ticks profit, but I don't think I did, unfortunately. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I did have quite a bit of profit there. I think I had 6 ticks profit. And then it came back against me, which is fine because this is a mean reversion trade, which means the win rate is much lower, but the risk reward is substantial. Like if this trade would have worked for me, I would have been looking for probably 3 or 4 points. We're trading, 4 points. We're trading 40 right now. I would have liked to see 36 out of it, which is a huge trade for me. But it just didn't work, and that's fine because, as I said, the win rate is low on these, and the fact that I was able to get out of it for a smaller profit is impressive, in my opinion. And the idea fails, so we break out at this level. I was looking for a pivot off overnight low, but we actually ended up breaking out of it and making new highs. So it was a good attempt, very good attempt. My calmness at the time of entry. Unfortunately, it looks like my my heart rate monitor disconnected. And when it comes back on, I am pretty calm. So I'll say yes, calm on this one. Yes, content. Yes, patient. I was clear. This was a pretty high EV setup. So I'll tag this as trend against, but I have big order blocks, small order blocks, reclaim, area of interest, and technically support resistance area because the overnight low did get tested quite a few times. So I'll tag support resistance area. And I think that's it. Yeah, so I'll call this an A setup. This is a mean reversion. I also had ATR candle fade for the entry. We were above the moving average. Entry good, exit good. Conservative hold, I'm going to say. Slip favor. And I'll green star this one. I think it was a good attempt. Good attempted mean reversion trade. All right, and then we start running into trouble. We're coming off of a winning streak here. This was how many trades? This is a 7-tick winning or 7-trade winning streak, and now trade number 19 is my first loss. And then I go on a brief losing streak. Let's watch the replay. Two examples of precedence there. We got another ATR candle up. I'm going to long 46.50. And there's not a crazy amount of buying delta on it either, so I'm pretty comfortable with this trade. But it is pulling back on me quite a bit here. I took it off for, I believe, 3-tick loss. But it looks like that was an early cut because it did proceed to go in my favor there. So yeah, that was a little premature because it does look like it goes playing out here. It does eventually go to target. So I will tag as such. Entry good, exit early. I'll put the fear tag on there. This is a pretty aggressive scalp. There's not really slip favor here. I guess it is slip favor because I waited for the shimmy back. I'm pretty calm. I'm content. And I'm patient. I was pretty clear at this point. We had a pretty strong trend. Did have an area of interest we were trading into. Above the moving average. But not too much else. I think that's about it. So no factors of support tag for this one. I will put support resistance area because we are trading into one. And this will be a yellow star. Decent setup, but poorly executed. Trade 20 is an 8-tick loss to the long side. So this is where the losses get a little ugly. And I think this is where we do actually pivot because the rest of my trades are short for the rest of the day. Let's watch the narration. fill, 44.50 long. It is coming back on me a fair bit here, but it's reclaiming back up. So I want to see it stay up here. So yeah, I don't think this is a good trade. What's going on here is I'm going long on an ATR candle continuation, but we're trending below the 50 moving average. So the pivot or the mean reversion idea I had from earlier was just early, but now it is setting up because we breached opening range high, and we technically made a new high of day, but it was only by a couple ticks. You know, the opening range high was 49.25, and it looks like the high of day was 50 and a half. So 5 ticks. We breached the new high of day by 5 ticks, and now we're rotating back in. And we're accepting it. It genuinely looks like we're accepting because now we're trading below the 50 moving average. We've reclaimed the VWAP +1 band. And it looks like the early stages of a downtrend. Now, my system, my rules tell me that I technically can't short above the VWAP +1 band, but I think there are certain environments where a discretionary trader like myself needs to know when to break the rules and when to push those rules. And I think this would have been a great example because this is a great short setup. We have a good rotation off of an area of interest. We have a V flush top. We're coming back down into a massive reclaim. We have a whole bunch of buyers that are probably going to get stopped out. We're trending below the 50 moving average, and we put in an ATR candle for me to fade into. My mistake was that I traded that ATR candle to the long side, which I don't think was a good idea. And you'll see the following trades that this develops into a short trend. So this is the pivot. This is where I should be taking the mean reversion trade. So I think it's important that when I attempt an idea and it fails, I shouldn't just throw that idea in the trash. You know, I should still hold on to it and say maybe, you know, maybe we go to a different area. Maybe we pivot off a different support resistance. You know, like maybe this idea isn't totally wrong. Maybe we're just in the wrong area. You know, because I think it would have helped to be short biased here, or at least slightly short biased. So I'm going to say maybe calm. My heart rate is slightly elevated. Yes, content, and yes, patient. There's pretty good time between trades here. I am going to put confused, though, because I'm confused about the trend. That being said, I am, according to the VWAPs and the strength of the buyers here, I still am technically trend favor. I have big and small order blocks, but that's about it. I'm going to put area of interest tag here. I'm going to call this a D setup. I don't think it's a great setup. Even to the long side, it's not a good setup because of the area, and that's so important. The location of your trade really dictates the expected value, and in this scenario, the location of this trade is really poor. ATR candle continuation, but we did not have momentum. I'm not going to tag the momentum trade tag. This will be a red star. This was it was pretty conservative. I did wait for proper signal. Slip favor. I was slip mid here. I think I had an early entry. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That will be red star. Trade number 21 is a 9-tick loss to the short side. Green ATR candle, I'm going to short 42. So just way too tight on this entry. I think there is a part of me that has FOMO here because I see the potential for a mean reversion down, and it's already grinding downward. And I'm at this point, I think I'm pretty desperate to get into it. But this is just way too tight. And you'll see why it does pull back on me quite a bit here. But it looks like I'm getting squeezed here. I'm going to take that off for, I think, a 7-tick loss. We put in another ATR candle. I'm going to short it at 44 for a try 2 of the same idea. And I took another loss, so that is my... So yeah, way too tight here. Take 2 losses on this one, which is kind of brutal. I'm going to tag price action too tight. It is getting super tight down here, and we are hugging the moving average. I want to see us get away from that. The downtrend isn't super established here, so I can't tag trend favor yet. But we do have big order blocks, small order blocks, reclaim. We have a V-flush in our favor. And I think that's it. This is an ATR candle fade. The trend isn't great, but actually I'm going to tag this mean reversion. This was because I'm playing the mean reversion to the downside. And I'll call it the mean reversion setup is really good, but the entry signal is bad. So let's grade the setup. Let's grade the higher time frame setup. I think it's a B. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good setup. But my entry was early and my exit was late. Aggressive scalp, risk off. I'm going to put the chasing tag on. I'm not really chasing here, but chasing also translates to FOMO. So I just want that tagged here that I was pretty FOMO here. There's not really any slip here. Market read in between. I don't think I'm necessarily confused because I am right about the trend that's coming. But I'm not clear on my execution either. I'm pretty sloppy. I'm going to put maybe calm. My heart rate was pretty elevated though. I'm going to put maybe content and maybe patient because I'm not content with letting this trade go without me. This will be a yellow star. I will copy the tags and paste them into the next one as a try 2. Try 2. I'm also going to put fixated on an idea on this one because I don't think I should be attempting this again here. So this will be a red star. The first attempt was a yellow. Second attempt is a red. Here, I'm going to take that off for... and this one technically would have worked, but I was too scared to hold it. So I'm going to put fear on there, and I'm going to put exit early instead of exit late. And this was actually a good entry. According to my system, this is a pretty good entry. It would have pulled back on me 5 or 6 ticks. But again, we're talking about the larger time frame setup here. This is a great setup. So I'm actually going to want to tag this one or screenshot this one because I think it's a great setup. It's a great idea. It's just horribly executed, unfortunately. So we have a V-flush above open range high. We have a bunch of invalidations. So these shorts from earlier in the session hypothetically have been stopped out. There's a bunch of buyers here. And now we're pivoting back down. I'm going to put precedence of ATR fade. ATR number one is too tight, but when combined with ATR number two, the breadth is adequate. So these ATR candles kind of add up. So if one ATR candle is too tight, but then we put in another one, I think what happens is, from my experience, is they kind of complement each other. They kind of add up. So you've got one ATR candle that's too tight, and you've got another one that's too tight. But if you add them together, you actually have a really solid move to fade into. Oh. So I just want to tag my entry, my exit, but the ideal entry would have been here, and the ideal exit would have been here. So my entry, my exit, ideal entry, ideal exit. So right side of the V. I was not on the right side of the V here. So 30-second minus, what's 9? 9 plus, I'm going to put minus 13 ticks to combine the multiple losses. Short. And I'm going to tag this as an A+. I think this is a really, really good setup. I just executed it horribly. Yeah, so let's put that little screenshot in there. This can be a red starter trade, but with an A+ setup, which is kind of ironic. I just executed this brutally. Tags, where are we? We're below VWAP minus, so we're above VWAP. Below, above. Above, below, above. I'm getting squeezed. Try 2. All right, yeah, I think that's good. So unfortunately, this was an A+ setup, but I just botched the execution. Shorts here, I think the trade 23 is a 7-tick profit to the short side. So I do end up catching some of this move. Chance that we accept lower. ATR candle down. I'm going to sell 39.25 short. And it does look like it's accepting lower. I'm going to try and work an exit at 37.50. And I got it for a. So this one was pretty tight, but again, if you have 2 ATR candles to work with, and I'm feeling like this is kind of the theme here is that if you have 2 ATR candles within a short period of time, you can kind of add them together. And in this case, they're overlapping slightly. but I still think it's valid to add them together. If I had shorted the first ATR candle here, I think it would have been too tight and it would have worked, but I still think the risk profile would have been skewed. I think it would have been way too tight for me to take the trade there. But we get a second ATR candle, and that means for me to short that, I need to sell near the top of where not only that ATR candle was, but we're pretty close to where the first ATR candle was. So it's kind of like a double resistance that I'm shorting into, which in my opinion doubles the expected value. It doubles the win rate, the chances of it working. So I like this trade a lot. I'm relatively calm here. I am content and I am patient even after those two losses. We have big order blocks, small order blocks. We have a big reclaim. We are currently stop running all this stuff.
I'm getting squeezed here.
Below us.
Shorts.
Multiple factors of support, obviously. This is an ATR candle continuation with momentum. I'm going to call it a B setup. And were we above or below the moving average?
Shorts here.
Below the moving average. Entry good, exit good. I think I got exactly what I needed out of this. Just conservative scalp, risk off, with slip favor and clarity. I was pretty clear on this one, so this will be a green star. Trade 24 is a 7-tick profit to the short side with a long hold time. I was in this for 1 minute and 3 seconds, which is by far my longest hold time of the session. So let's watch this.
Short if we take that peek back. There's the ATR candle up. I'm going to short 39. I'm pretty confident I can hold this thing through the reclaim down. But obviously I don't want to hold on to it forever. We got another ATR candle up, slightly above me.
So this pulls back on me quite a bit. I think it pulls back on me almost 10 ticks.
ATR candle down.
But it's adding confirmation, honestly. Like clearly my entry is early at this point, but those ATR candles are adding confirmation to the trade.
I took about 2 points of heat on this, and I think I can get 2 points of reward on it as well. So 37.25 exit for 7-tick win.
Yeah, that was a very good trade. I'm really proud of myself for holding through this because it's not easy for me to hold a trade that goes against me 2 points. But I knew what the expected value was here, and I knew that when it came back against me and printed another ATR candle, that it was adding confirmation onto the trade. Now, granted, it would have been nice if I got an entry on that second ATR candle, but there's really no way for me to know that. There's no way for me to predict that. So those things are just going to happen every once in a while. But I do like it. So this is almost the exact same trade as last time, so I'm going to copy a lot of the tags in just to save some time. This is just an ATR candle fade. My heart rate is elevated here, though. I think it hits 120 at some point. And this will be a green star. I'm really proud of myself for holding through that heat. Trade number 25 is a 1-tick loss to the short side.
We've got an ETR candle down. I will short for the continuation. 37.50 short build.
Little too tight. I don't really like this one because that ATR candle is pretty tight on me. It does give me a point profit roughly, but I don't. I fail to take it, unfortunately. And then it starts grinding against me, so I take it off.
One tick loss because it started making higher lows on me and higher highs. In hindsight, it would have worked as it's now hitting my target.
Yeah, had I held it, it would have worked, but there just wasn't a whole lot of confirmation. It was too tight. The ATR candle was too tight. We do get another one, and do I get into this trade? No, it doesn't give me an entry, unfortunately, but there is a really nice setup afterwards. This was still a good, it wasn't a great attempt, though, so it'll probably be yellow star. Maybe calm. I'm going to say yes, content, and yes, patient. I am pretty patient at this point. This was an ATR candle continuation with momentum, but I'm going to tag too tight, PA too tight. And this will be a D setup. It's not great by any means. We were hugging the moving average at the point of entry, but technically below it. I might move some tags around real quick. I'm going to get rid of my spoofing tag because I don't think that's a huge factor in my trading anymore. Let's move the area of interest over here. And I'm going to add a new tag. Called and a new tag called hugging the moving average, which is where it's not above or below. It's just kind of hugging on it. And I'm going to want to tag this trade as such. So we are hugging the moving average. We still have some decent order blocks below us. We still got some reclaim below us. We're still stopping them out. I'm gonna tag this as red star. I don't think I should have taken this one. This was a bit of an aggressive scalp. I didn't really have slip favor, but I am clear. I'm still clear about the trend here. I don't think that ATR candle was loose enough for me to take it. So that'll be a red star. Trade 26 is a 5-tick profit to the short side. ATR candle up. I'm going to short 33.25. A little bit of an early entry. I am taking a bit of heat on it, but it is still reclaiming. The price action still looks like it's in my favor. I will move the stop up just to secure some profit. And I will take this off at 32 for, I believe, a 6-tick profit. Yeah, decent trade. I wish what I did here, though, was that I traded the better of the two setups because there is an ATR candle. There's two ATR candles down, which we've been talking about how if you combine those two, it's a better setup. If you combine these two ATR candles, I should have shorted a little higher, around 34.50. That would have given me a much better average instead of shorting the green ATR candle, which does not have as much EV at 33.50. So I could have got a whole more point profit out of this had I shorted the first two ATR candles instead of the former. So Maybe calm. My heart rate is pretty elevated at this point in the session. Yes, content. Yes, patient. We've still got order blocks. We've still got reclaim. We've still got stop run, and we're with the trend at this point. We do have trend favor. This was an ATR candle fade, but it should have been continuation, honestly. Momentum. I'm going to call it a C setup because the one I traded wasn't great. And we are below the moving average. Entry early, exit good. Conservative, risk off. Slip favor. And that'll be a green star despite the way I could have traded it, the way I did trade it was still very good. Trade 27 is a 4-tick profit to the short side.
A bit of an ATR candle up here. I'm going to try the short at 31, and I'll take it at 30 for a quick point.
So this was a very tight trade. I'm not in love with it, but it did work. So I'm going to tag price action too tight and hugging the moving average, but we did have slip favor. We did have trend favor. There were still order blocks below us. And still a lot of reclaim below us. I'm going to call this a C setup. It's not great, but it does get the job done. ATR candle fade. But I'm not going to tag a momentum because there really isn't great momentum here. Entry good, exit good. It was definitely not worth more than a point. And it was a pretty aggressive scalp. I'm kind of pushing in this area. That being said, I'm still clear about price action. Maybe calm. Yes, content, and yes, patience. This will be a yellow star. And then trade 28, last trade of the day, 9-tick profit to the short side. And it's just a couple seconds after my last trade.
Table here. I'm going to short 31. Got filled 30.75.
So I like this trade a lot better because, again, if you combine these two ATR candles, it doubles the expected value. You know, if the first ATR candle was 6 ticks and the second ATR candle was 6 ticks, if you combine those, you potentially have a 12-tick move. And I got pretty close to that, 9 ticks.
Immediately went in my favor on a big surge of volume there.
So this is an excellent, excellent trade. We had ATR candle fade. We're still pretty tight on the price action. And we are hugging the moving average. That being said, this is probably going to be a C setup. So on paper, this isn't a great setup, but in the moment and how I traded it, I think it was a very good setup. We still have order blocks below us. We have reclaim below us. We're stop running. And we have trend favor. Entry good, exit good. This was much more conservative. And I had slip favor. That was clear. Maybe calm, yes, content, and yes, patient. And this will be a green star. I like this one a lot. So yeah, those are all my trades. Let's pull up daily report card. My single long-term goal is to never attempt an idea more than twice. Now, I technically broke that rule today with where was it?
Us.
Yeah, trade number 10 was technically a try 3. Um, but they had different risk profiles. I think where I become concerned with trying an idea over again is if I'm just keep getting stopped out and I keep trying again and I keep getting stopped out and I keep trying again. Um, Clearly in those scenarios what I'm doing isn't working. Um, in these trades, what I was doing was technically working. I had precedence, I had trend favor, I had good expected value, and the setups were working technically. Is just my execution was poor on them. So while I did break that rule today, I don't think it was the same type of rule break that I'm concerned about. Um, so for that reason, I would probably grade myself with a B today. I think a B is pretty solid. Um, I was down a lot at one point in the day, but I managed to recoup back to break even, which I think is pretty impressive, especially on a day like today. I know I looked in the Discord group, and a lot of traders were struggling today. Um, so the fact that I was able to recoup my losses and get good reps, I mean, that was a good review session. This is going to be a 2-part review, and it'll probably almost be 2 hours long. There was just so much valuable information to be gained from all these trades, and I think carrying those lessons forward is going to strengthen my system. Uh, Especially, I think the biggest lesson learned today might be that those ATR candles add up. They double when you get a lot of them. When you get multiple ATR candles like that, the EV stacks and you get really good setups. So I'm looking forward to implementing that in the future. Um, Easiest trade. I think we talked about that already.
Us.
I think it was
Unfortunately, I got still
the 15 tick, right? Yeah. Trade number 7, 15 tick profit, easiest trade. It was such a good, obvious setup. We had trend favor, we had huge order blocks to fade into, we had an ATR candle to fade into, we had delta reclaim, we had strong tape, we had a compression downwards. It really just had everything. The unfortunate part is though that I took a 19 tick loss beforehand, which was avoidable. So I kind of repeated that stake later in the session when we had the where was it? It doesn't matter, but later in the session I made a similar mistake. So um, those avoidable losses are something I need to work on, which kind of brings me to things I need to improve on. Um, Trade location. Trade location is everything, and I just need to make sure that when I'm taking a trade, that the location matches what I'm trying to do. Like if the location of the trade is at a super choppy area with low volume and a lot of indecision from buyers or sellers, it's not a great trade. It doesn't mean I can't take it, but I need to have a really clear expectation on the reward and the risk profile. Um, I can't be pushing trades in that environment. If the location is bad, then the expected value is bad, and I can't be pushing trades in that environment. Um, Other things I need to improve on. Um, Other things I need to improve on is um, not swinging at every opportunity. Um, I do not like how many executions I had today. 28 is a lot. Um, I would like to cut that down significantly. Even on a tough day, I do not want to have that many executions. Um, that being said, though, I am very proud of these executions. Like, at no point, usually in the past, the reason why I don't like having that many executions is because if you have 28 executions in a session, chances are something's wrong. Something's gone horribly wrong, and you're either on tilt or your system isn't working. And I don't think either of those were true for me today. My system was working. I was just executing poorly and taking a lot of unnecessary losses. But at no point did my psychology fail. At no point did I spiral. You can see here that all of these red star trades were spread out. When something's bad and you're getting multiple red star trades in a row, you're spiraling. You know, like something's really bad, something's wrong. But the fact that I only had 5 red star trades today, and they were so evenly spaced out, just means that I was making mistakes, but I was addressing them, and I was at least trying to fix those mistakes and learning from them instead of just continuing to attack the market. So in as far as things I did good, I think that's number one, is that I was diagnosing as I was trading and fixing mistakes that I was making. Now, that pattern of making mistakes and fixing them is kind of never ending, and the danger of doing that is that you end up with 28 executions. It's very easy to overtrade when you're constantly playing catch up with yourself. So at a certain point, it is better to just walk away instead of trying to fix everything all at once. But I mean, clearly I did a good job of that today. I did a good enough job. Coming away from the session break even sucks because after commissions I'm probably down considerably, but I also wasn't down a lot, and not nearly as much as I was the prior session. So this was a huge improvement, and it was good practice. It was good contentment practice. I was content with my P&L the entire day. It was good patience practice. I had pretty good time between trades. And it was good calmness practice, although you do see a clear trend in my calmness. Like we start out with pretty solid heart rate, hovering around 90 to 100 beats per minute. And then by the end of the session, I'm hitting like, 115, 120 beats per minute. So you could you could put a line chart on my heart rate, and you could see the fatigue kicking in at the end of the session, which is why I decided to quit. And that's probably the next thing that I did good today is I dictated when I was done, and I didn't push it. I didn't have any time constraints today. I didn't work, so I could have sat here and kept trading. But what happens when you do that? What happens when you have a really tough session? You get back to break even and then you keep trading. You're going to give it all back, and you're going to spiral, and you're going to hit fatigue. So the fact that I was the one who decided that I'm done today and then I decided to walk away is a huge improvement, and it is a huge strength as a trader, and I want to cultivate that. I need to be my own boss. I need to be held accountable for my trading, and to either hit profit target or daily loss limit every day is not responsible trading. I think as a as a uh, as a solo trader, you have to be your own risk manager, and you have to be the person that decides when you're done. And I did that today, and I'm very proud of it, and I want to continue doing that. So in summary, I think as tough as today was, I'm very proud of the way I pulled it off. It was a test. It was a really tough session, but it didn't feel that tough. In the moment, it did not feel like I was struggling. It did not feel like I was drowning. I wasn't grasping for P&L. I was just taking what I could and accepting the losses that came at me. And I think that's so important as a trader. And I hope to replicate those results moving forward. So I will leave this review at that and catch you guys in the next one.